We're just over halfway into the Monday session for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently up just under 1.5%, up just under $1,000 at 972. Bitcoin is currently at 68,933, just below, again, 69,000. Our recent high was just under 69,500. Again, I think Bitcoin is likely going to overthrow that level to complete divergences, as I've been talking about, and then begin a reversal. Now, the 4-hour chart has been absolutely making amazing calls. It's incredible. The last divergence that formed, I warned you we were going to get a pullback before it ever happened. I warned you about the rising wedge in the 4-hour time frame, just as I warned you about the bullish diversions back over here. And again, our chart continues to just nail it. Now, I'm watching, do we get a lower high or do we get a higher high? My guess is that we're going to get a higher high in all likelihood, but we're at the trend line of resistance, stalling there a little bit. At the moment, we were up 1.5% just a little bit ago, and we're pulling back just a little bit. Now, if we look at the bigger picture, here we're above the 50, the 200 here is rising, the 50 is above it, price is above both. And again, I talked about a rally back up to the high 69,000 on into 70 or maybe 70 as high as 71,000 into the resistance zone, as I've talked about at great length and detail. Again, I think a divergence very well could develop in the most recent price action. The divergence here, again, gave us this sell-off, which I talked about, just as the divergence is over here and back over here. But I think we could see something like what we had over here, where we had this divergence give us some volatility, but then we went higher, and again, you made a larger multiple point divergence. Maybe you get one in the more recent price action. Maybe you form a larger one here, like what we had over here, like what we had over here. We'll see how it plays out, but I told you I thought we'd still go to a slightly higher high. And again, the high 69,000 on into 70 or 71,000, but then I think we're going to complete a peak and then begin to reverse. The divergence is at the bottom, at the top here, at the top here. Again, the signals have just been nailing it back and forth on the 4-hour chart over and over again. I warned you that, again, we have this larger divergence, but it may not be done yet. We may have another push higher and form a divergence on print parameter here in the most recent price action. I think that is very, very possible. But then once it's done, I think we could see a turn. So again, I am looking for the rally to continue a little bit higher. And then again, if we do turn, that would be very bearish. If we can clear the resistance levels, that would be extremely bullish. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, please support the channel. I don't have any sponsors, just a direct relationship with you, so I just ask that you help out and support the channel. But I need to hear from you in order to make it work. If you take a moment to do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Now, we're seeing a rally with Bitcoin. We're seeing a rally with the stock market as oil collapses. Even though the yields and the dollar have been ticking back up today, we're still seeing, and that rattled the stock market last week, and seeing oil, it was as low as 6%, over 6% lower. We had Israel respond to Iran's missile attack from October 1st. They didn't hit any of the oil facilities, and so we see oil collapse and markets breathe a sigh of relief. I talked about this over the weekend in my Bitcoin video, my stock market video. I talked about a relief rally because it could have been a lot worse. There's still the possibility that Iran responds, but Israel took out their air defense systems. So, I mean, they're very vulnerable now, and they also destroyed their ballistic missile production capabilities. It's going to take them 2 or 3 years to fix that. So again, if they respond, Israel's saying they're going to respond. Tensions could heat up. This could be a nothing burger. If they don't respond, that could be the end of it. Israel is purposely trying to de-escalate the situation, not striking as many targets as they could to give Iran a way out to not respond. But you have Iranian officials saying they could. Other news outlets are reporting that their sources are telling them that they're not going to respond. So who knows? But geopolitical issues, you just never know. But it's something we're paying attention to. So again, just wanted to update you on that. And then the market is going to be having a boatload of earnings. Next week, the Fed. Next week, the election. So a lot of stuff going on. The election already priced into Bitcoin. Markets are anticipating Trump's going to win. Crypto people are very happy with that because of his pro-crypto policies, his position, pro-crypto position. But could it be buy the rumor, sell the news? I don't know. I mean, do we break out or do we reverse? I'm just watching resistance levels. Again, I really don't care which way Bitcoin goes, up or down. I've been bullish since the 52,000 area, except for the pullback, which I warned you was going to happen. And 4-hour chart nailed that, along with some of the daily signals, some of the warning signs we got here, which I told you about at the time. We had warning signs here. Is that just a pullback, or is this warning of a larger top? Very well could be warning of a larger top. I told you about over here how we peaked, we sold off, and then we turned back up and we went slightly higher to form the divergence. I think that could be going on right here. Again, do we get a lower high or higher high? My guess is a higher high. Again, I think you get a divergence there on the RSI. If clear these levels and hold above 69,000 and clear the resistance zones, that would be extremely bullish. Right now, momentum line with this bar today turning back to bullish. So I think we're getting something very, very similar to what we've had back at some of these other times. Back over here, again, momentum line, signals turn bearish, warned of a short-term top here, sold off, turned back to bullish momentum, and then said, hey, likely to continue. And again, we saw the sell-off and we formed a little double top pattern right there. We could see something very similar to that with the momentum line right here. Continue to point out the tops and bottoms have been nailed. Again, I want to continue to point out trend signals are bullish. Hello? Did you hear what I said? Trend signals remain bullish. I told you momentum is turned bearish. Now it's turning back to bullish. You see the little blue arrow there. Do you see this? Okay, do you see the momentum line trying to turn back to bullish? If it does that by the close, then again, you've got a shot at the divergence or a legitimate breakout. We have, again, my signals turning back to bullish over here. Again, as I predicted would happen at the support level. And again, it's been validated with the balance of power turning back to bullish. Signals all turning back to bullish as correctly predicted. So I think my divergence scenario could play out, or a legitimate breakout, if we could see the weekly signals turn back. But the sell signals that we're getting here and the T and over here, again, this could have just been warning of a short-term sell signal, but it also could be warning of a top, okay? And again, we just go back in time and look at this peak over here. Again, we had the same similar warning signs here, still went to a higher high, but then formed that divergence on indicators. And you could see the same thing happen here. Again, we're right at this trend line. If we start clearing it, we're either getting a legitimate breakout or you're getting a fake out, one or the other. We'll be watching as the bulls and bears fight it out. Again, let me repeat, the bullish signals. Do you see the little bullish signals here that I talked about back at the bottom over here? And then predicted this move. Told you, even though we were selling off, we were still going to go up to the 68, 69,000 area. Again, my signals have been bullish. I've called a $17,000 move on Bitcoin, as I've been calling these moves back and forth, because my signals are correct. I have good indicators. Now, is that move going to continue? My signals are going to tell me whether it's going to continue. I think a divergence will form, but again, if the weekly signals, my signals, turn back to bullish in the weekly time frame, then we can get a legitimate breakout. If they don't, if it fails, and we'll know probably here this week or next week what's going to happen. Good chance this week. If the rally fails, and again, well, could everybody believes, just like they did back at the 2021 top, the quarter's going to be so bullish. Well, the fourth quarter in 2021, you never hear them say this, but the fourth quarter in 2021, Bitcoin peaked and it collapsed, and it ended up right after the fourth quarter, by January there, it had collapsed by 52%. Again, are we going to get a legitimate breakout? If we do, I'll turn back to bullish longer term. I've been bullish in the daily time frame except for here because my signals got it right. Now we're getting a green bar momentum here. And again, this is really kind of maybe showing a topping process as we're getting green and red bars back and forth with momentum, bars reflecting momentum, momentum line turning from bearish to bullish, signals going bearish, now trying to go back to bullish. Warning you over and over again in every single video, momentum could form a divergence right here, which I think is very, very possible. And we go up here, but then the move ends up failing. Now, if we get a legitimate breakout, then the divergence that forms could just give us a pullback, be a back test of 69,000 if we get a legitimate breakout. So I'm watching to see which happens, but we could see something like this right here, a divergence form, and then a reversal start. But again, the trend signals remain bullish. Momentum had turned bearish. The impulse line back to bullish. I talked about the impulse line in my last video. Bars reflecting the trend here remain green, but we have these warning signs. So is this warning that, hey, we just get a pullback, or is this warning of a larger top like it did over here? I think it could be warning of a larger top. As we're rallying to my target level, 68 to 69,000 there. Again, we could go as high as 70, 71. If we clear those levels, then that would be a sign of strength if we can make a new all-time high. But as we're doing this, we're seeing the Moon Boy Oscillator reach extreme. So again, we could see a top here in the not-too-distant future. We'll be watching to see what happens. Moon Boy Oscillator has been calling tops and bottoms over and over again. And again, usually when it reaches extremes, it will either form a divergence or just reach an extreme and recycle back up or roll back over one or the other, depending on if it's overbought or oversold here. Now, Bitcoin closed out the week last week. It closed out the week down 1.5% after that big move up of nearly 10%, 9.77% here in the weekly time frame. But with that move, with that big rally back up, we got this last week here, closing out on Sunday, we got the bullish cross of the 10 and the 20 here during that week. That's a positive for the bullish case. Again, the problem is that, again, we still are in a downtrend. We still have a series of lower highs and lower lows. And again, just like the 50 is getting back above the 200 now, we're getting the 10 back above the 20, and prices above 20. That's positive, but it has to remain that way. Over here we tried it and it failed. Over here we tried it and it failed. You got to be able to have the staying power. Over here we tried it and it failed. You got to have the staying power. Okay, did get a bottoming tail here. Positive. Again, I predicted this rally, but again, the bulls have to be able to clear 69,000. This red line, we've had 9 failed attempts to get above it. Right now, we're again flirting with this area once again. We'll be watching. We're at the trend line of resistance. Do we stall there? Now, if I bring up the trend line right here, and let me just straighten that out. Again, we've come right up to the trend line here and here, and we're just right at this area. So do we clear 69,000? And if we do, is it a legitimate breakout? And we clear these other levels of resistance, or do we stall here or get a false breakout, one or the other? But again, the bullish cross of the 10 and 20, again, could give us bullish breakout if we can clear these other levels of resistance that I've talked about in this downtrend that we have. So we'll be watching to see as the bulls and bears fight it out. Possible hanging man candlestick right there. So again, do we get a slightly lower high? I talked about that possibility. My guess is we go a little bit higher and get the divergence on the RSI, but then I think we'll probably turn. We could see a topping tail. We'll be watching to see, can we get a legitimate breakout? You know, the move here was on lighter volume. And again, we've seen nothing but the distribution, since the March high. Again, that's got to change if the bulls are going to regain control. Some moment of truth. Are we going to get another top here? Are we going to see the bulls turn it around and give us a breakout? We're going to be watching as the bulls and bears fight it out. But a positive here for the bulls, holding above the 20. That's another positive for the bulls. Can they break things out? Got to see some volume come back into this if they do. And we bounced over here off of our 50-period moving average, as again, I warned you at the time. And again, I've been bullish, except for the pullback here. I will remain bullish if we can get a breakout. But I think that, again, more than likely you're going to see a top. And even if we clear this level, you still might not be able to make a new high above this 73,800 area. But the 50 getting above the 200 in the daily, the 10 getting above the 20 here in the weekly, both positive for the bulls, leaving the door open for a possible breakout if they can pull it off. Bitcoin is testing the downward trend line. I'll show you that in just a moment, but want to continue to point out that I think, again, it's likely a divergence develops here on the RSI. I've been talking about this. Again, I told you over here that as we were rallying, I thought a divergence could develop there. It did not. My signals warned of a sell-off before it happened. It happened just as my signals predicted. Then I told you we were still likely going to go up to that 68, 69,000 area, which in fact we did. And we're here, now we're there. We're going to see a top. We could go as high as 70, 71,000. Reason why is because this is the resistance zone, 70,000 here, 71,000, high 71,000 area here. So that 70 to 71,000 range, just under 72,000, that's the resistance zone. And I'm getting that from those two peaks. That's why I've told you we may overthrow 69,000, go up into 70, 71,000 or so, and complete a divergence. Now, I told you what has to happen for the bulls to regain control. What has to happen for the bears? For the bulls, we got to clear all the resistance levels. If we do that, then I'll continue to remain bullish. Again, I told you down over here, that we are going to go to the 68,000, 69,000 area. Talked about the rallies here, the sell-off here and here. Signals got it right. And again, I warned you of those turns as they happened. And that was really very, very good calls on the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart has just been nailing it, the short-term turns. So again, I predicted that we would still go up and form a divergence here. I said we might get a lower high, but I told you, again, I have the guts to tell you what I think. I think we form a divergence in all likelihood on the RSI. I think we get one here in the recent price action on the MACD. We had really almost two equal peaks there with the Class B divergence with this peak right here. And again, it's likely that a divergence develops right here. Everybody expects that Bitcoin's now going to move into this new bull market. Again, if we can clear the resistance levels, then that door would be opened. But right now, risk is that we don't. Again, let me be clear. Over here at 52,000, we're going to rally towards the 200 period moving average. And as we were doing that, I told you about this pullback. But I also told you, again, we're likely going to go up to the 68, 69,000 area. If we see things begin to turn bullish in the weekly time frame, it means we're either going sideways or we're going up. If weekly signals turn back to bullish, then again, I would turn back to bullish. But even if they do, it still may be a fake false breakout. Again, my signals nailed the bullish move up and even the pullback here. My signals have been calling the back and forth turns all year long. Moon boys have been telling us, no, we're going to just go, here we go, here we go. My signals have been going from bearish to bullish to bearish to bullish to bearish to bullish to bearish to bullish, back and forth. And I've been telling you as those turns have been taking place. Right again, here we go. So again, bullish from 52,000, 17,000 move, I called it. Up here, told you we can go up to the 68,000 area, overthrow it, hit 69,000, and I've told you we can even go into this resistance zone here. Possible head and shoulders pattern developing right here. I think that a divergence is highly probable. Again, that's what we got over here. We overshot that level a little bit and then started a reversal. Same thing back over here. And again, if we zoom out, change charts again, the divergences have been present here at these different peaks. My guess is we're forming another one right here. Bullish divergences down over here, again with these two lows right here at the trend line, the lows over here. So again, I think you're likely going to form a divergence. I think you can overthrow this level. Maybe you get a topping tail. Maybe you get a false breakout. Maybe you get a legitimate breakout. And a divergence forms that only gives us a pullback and a back test. We'll see what happens. Again, the bullish cases, you got to clear the trend line right here. We're coming right at it again. And this includes, again, the shadow over here. I have another trend line that excludes that shadow from this peak over here, which, again, up above that trend line. But so one we need to clear, and then we need to be able to hold above it, not break above it and then fall back below it. So, again, if we can clear that level, then we can clear the resistance zone, the one I mentioned over here with the 70,000, just under 72,000 there, high 71,000 area, and then be able to clear the 73, 74,000 area over here. You got to be able to clear those levels of resistance, get above 69,000, never drop back below it. We're at that 69,000 area again for a test. We're just under it at the moment. Get above 69,000, stay above it, never drop back below it again. And that would be bullish, clearing these levels. You can't do it. You can't bust them up. You're going to bust them back down. Then the support zone is down here at these lows right here. And again, because we come back here, take out Bitcoin's average price, start breaking the trend line right here, and again, end up having another failed rally on our hands. So we're watching. And again, my signals have been calling these moves back and forth. Well, the Moon Boys have been telling us, here we go, here we go, here we go. My signals, I told you over here, we were peaking at the 72, 73,000 area. I was correct. And again, we saw distribution. Okay. Then my signal said, hey, bottoms are forming. Double top over here. Sell off. And then again, we called another bottom. We called the May 2nd bottom, the day after the bottom over here. Called the bottom over here early July. The signals warned of that. Predicted the rally to 70,000, which again excluded the shadow over there. The trend line hit it right on the nose, reversed, and sold off 29%. Predicted a rebound, a Fibonacci rebound. We hit the 78.6 Fibonacci, came back for a test. Called another bottom over here because the signals warned that a bottom was developing, because I have good indicators. Again, choppiness back and forth. So while the Moon Boys have been telling us, and the Moon Girls have been telling us, oh, here we go, here we go, here we go, I've been calling these moves back and forth. And prior to that, my signals turned back to bullish in late January and called the run-up. Signals have been correct all year long. Again, I really don't care which way Bitcoin goes. I can make money up or down, which, again, I've been playing my signals back and forth all year, and my signals have been correct. If I were to just come out and tell you, oh, Bitcoin is just going to go to 100,000 or 250 or 350,000, I would be proclaimed a genius. But again, because I dare to tell you the back and forth fluctuations, which have been correct, and because I tell you, hey, I think we've topped over here, unless my signals turn back to bullish, which again, I have been bullish through this move, except for right here. So again, if I am to continue to be bullish, again, my signals in the weekly time frame have to turn back to bullish and remain that way. Not get a fake breakout, but get a real deal Don Steele breakout. So again, the prediction I made is that we, again, get this rally back up to form this divergence. Again, it's taken longer because, again, we had that pullback, which I correctly predicted, and then the bottom, which I correctly predicted at the 150 period, again, because I have good indicators. Now, I told you that I thought that the 50 would not be able to get back above the 200, because I thought that the divergence would happen sooner. Okay, it took longer, so now we're getting the 50 above the 200. Over here, when we got the death cross, that really was, that marked the bottom, okay? And when you go sideways, the crisscrossing back and forth of the 50 and the 200 can often mark tops and bottoms. So this could mark a top with this bullish cross we're getting at some point this week. That is very possible. If we clear the levels and the signal remains bullish, then that's going to be a sign of strength. If the weekly charts turn bullish and we start clearing all these levels of resistance I've talked about, which again, if that happens, I'll turn back to bullish longer term. I've been bullish since the 52,000 area, except for the pullback I warned you about that I told you was still going to take us to 68, 69,000, which was correct. And I think that divergence will terminate the rally in all likelihood. So we'll see what happens. And again, we have this overthrow with this bottoming tail. We could see something similar to that here, where we get a overthrow, but then the rally is sold. Could see something very similar to that. Breakout, man, you got to have the staying power to be able to stay above these resistance levels, not just get a topping tail, or here in this case a bottoming tail. But I'm telling you again, if this is bullish, we need to see a legitimate breakout. Do we see that? We'll see what happens. The problem with the bull market is, again, recession is coming. Coin does break out ahead of the recession. Well, it may buy a little bit more time, but eventually, when we hit recession, Bitcoin will have problems. Do we get a breakout? We'll see what happens as the bulls and bears fight it out. Again, I really don't care which way Bitcoin moves, but I'll let you know if we start clearing this area, that would be bullish, and I'll continue to remain bullish. Again, if the divergence plays out and we start a reversal, then again, we could drop back below the 50, the 200 as they get across, and eventually we could see another death cross, which again, going back and forth. And again, the moon boy is going crazy, telling us how bullish the golden cross is. Over here, they told us how bullish the death cross is. Everything's bullish if you're a moon boy, everything. Why they never see these moves down, because they only believe that Bitcoin only moves up. It is absolutely insane. Prices go up and prices go down. So we'll be watching as the bulls and bears fight it out here. Again, I predicted the rally. I think it's probably going to fail, but if we clear these areas of resistance and move to a new high, then that would be a sign of strength. That would be bullish. Then I will continue to be bullish. Great Scott, did you hear what I just said? I will continue to be bullish as I've been bullish, except for this pullback, if we can clear these levels. If we get rejection at them and the divergence plays out, and again, daily signals turn back to bearish as far as the trend, then again, the bears would be in control in the daily and the weekly time frame. We'll be watching to see what happens. Watch the divergences here on the MACD and the RSI. It's likely going to complete this week at some point. Forget Bitcoin got a 9 count over here. Again, we sold off. That's showing price exhaustion. Either you get a 9 count and you get a pullback and a trend extension, that would be the breakout scenario that we start clearing the resistance levels. Or you get a 9 count and you overthrow it just a little bit. We could still form a divergence like we did over here, and like we did over here, and like we did over here in these areas, and the bullish diversions down over here. You got a 9 count, you rallied, and then you ended up going a little bit lower. Could see something like that. The other possibility, we still get a lower high. Again, I told you I think a divergence very well could develop on the RSI in the daily time frame. So I think you could see a move here. If we start clearing this area, again, it could be a false breakout. If you can get above that level, and this dotted line right here is 69,000, if you can get above the 69,000 area and stay above that, then that would be very, very bullish for Bitcoin. We'll be watching. Is the 9 count just a pullback, or is it a top? And again, you can see these other 9 counts have been associated with turning points, tops and bottoms, and over. But sometimes you overthrow these levels, and other times you turn immediately. So again, I've talked about that. My guess is we're, again, going to form this divergence as I've been predicting there on the RSI daily chart.